in a moment. Let's continue. 4-1 Commanders with rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels. Are the Commanders good? Are they good? I think they are. Now, they beat the Browns. And look, the NFL, you don't apologize for victories. It's a Mike Tomlin quote that I have stolen. We talk about it on the show, right? We don't apologize for victories. And in the NFL, you get a win, you put it in the win column, you crack a cold one, and then you move on to next week. There is no apologizing for who you're playing. And there is no, in the NFL, they ain't played nobody, Paul. They play who the NFL tells them to play. That being said, the Commanders have wins against the Giants, the Bengals, the Cardinals, and the Browns. But they're 4-1, Brendan. And Jaden Daniels, he's going to win Rookie of the Year.
I think he's going to hit that rookie wall.
You think so? You think he hits the rookie wall?
I think he will at some point.
This is incredibly good.
They've hit a lot of momentum. I just don't know if I believe in them right away. Kind of like last year's Houston. I think they'll be a cool story, but I don't think they're going to make a whole lot of noise.
But you could say Houston made a smidge of noise last year with the fact that they went to the playoffs and I believe won a playoff game. So
they're in the NFC, so they have a chance.
Yeah. And, okay, are the Cowboys good? This is what, again, the NFL will drive you mad. Cowboys are 3-2. They beat the Steelers on Sunday Night Football very late. Well, late for me. And if that fumble on the one on second down goes a different way, the Cowboys are 2-3 and maybe a different narrative. If Dak Prescott throws an incomplete pass on fourth down, it's it. But he didn't. Again, he didn't. He made the play. Are the Cowboys good? Who's the
Not
best?
until they get healthy.
Okay, so then let me ask you this. Who's the best team in the NFC East? Somebody's got to win the division. Who's the best? Is it crazy to say the Commanders are the best team in the NFC East right now?
I think the Eagles will get it figured out. I really do.
Still believe the Eagles are going to get it figured out?
I do. I think they have the most talent. You talk about Saquon, Jalen Hurts, that receiving core, solid defense. They might not be able to get out of their own way, but like the Cowboys, it's like, Mike Parsons is hurt, Lawrence is hurt. Like they have big dudes that are gone.
Here's the thing that worries me about the Eagles. One, replacing legacy offensive linemen, right? They're just going to take and
pull him out of retirement. I'm serious.
Jason Kelsey's having the time of his life. He's not coming out of retirement anytime soon.
You might need to make that call, man.
That guy's not coming back to play and smash heads. He's making way more money than he ever played smashing heads, and he doesn't have to do the tush push anymore, which he got the worst of that play.
Didn't the Blazers do that once?
Who's that?
Didn't they basically pull Joe Przybilla out of retirement once or twice?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I think playing center in the NBA may be a little bit different than playing center in the NFL. And I don't know if Joel Przybilla had a $50 million podcast that he's just counting money and is on every other commercial that you could possibly. Hey, he's on Buffalo Wild Wings. He's on the YouTube TV commercial. He's like Jason Kelly. He's on Chunky Soup now. He's on every commercial. The legacy offense, but also wasn't Fletcher Cox was another guy that they lost as well through retirement. But that smoke between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and wondering, do those two actually like each other? Now, there are times, and you saw this a little bit with the Patriots, where I don't think at the end Belichick and Brady particularly liked one another. They managed to coexist and win a lot of football games, but I don't think they liked each other, especially towards the end. So maybe that could be a thing, but those are my two biggest concerns I have with the Eagles. All right, continuing on. Brendan, are the Bengals bad? Are they bad? Is it time to worry about Joe Burrow? Is it time to worry about the Cincinnati Bengals? Did they finally, after a flash in the pan, did the Bengals finally come back to earth? Because they've been known as the Bungles for a long, long time. Historically cheap franchise. They paid Joe Burrow. He got hurt last year. They're 1-4.
Defense. It's defense.
Yeah.
And you go back to the year they won the Super Bowl. They were or won the Super Bowl. Played in the Super Bowl.
Played in the Super Bowl, yeah.
They had a great defense. And that great defense is what really again, there's been about 3 or 4 defensive coordinators that have had great dialed-up game plans for how to shut down Patrick Mahomes, and Kansas and Cincinnati that year did it. So, it's a pretty short list. It's like Kansas City, or it's like Cincinnati, Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
That's it in Super Bowls or in really consequential moments. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to say that they're not good. I'm not very sure I'm ready to call them bad because the Cleveland Browns are bad, Justin.
Cleveland Browns are awful. The Cleveland Browns are in
God, I love karma.
Absolute tough spot. And again, a tough spot that they created themselves. You don't get credit for being in a tough spot when you set the house on fire. It's like, oh, we're stuck in a fire. It's like, yeah, you set the house on fire because you knew what you were getting with Deshaun Watson. You knew what you were getting yourself potentially into with that ridiculous guaranteed contract that you gave him. And now you have put yourself in a spot where the Cleveland Browns last year with Joe Flacco went to the playoffs. Cleveland Browns were good last year, good enough to when their head coach, is it Stefanski, right? He was the coach of the year in the NFL with Joe Flacco. Old Joe Flacco. That's how they say it in Baltimore.
So he's still playing, by the way.
He's still, trust me, Brendan, I know, because he carved up my Steelers last week. The Browns are good enough to make the playoffs as a team. The one thing they don't have a quarterback. And they can't bench him because how do you put that much money on the bench? But you also can't continue to play him because your entire team's going to quit on you. Like, they talked about that with Bryce Young. Like, why would after year one and a game or two, why would the Panthers bench Bryce Young? It's like, because you got 52 other dudes on that roster who are all fighting for their careers, and you continue to roll out a quarterback that's just not good enough, you lose the locker room. Welcome to Cleveland, because they're 1-4. They have absolutely no chance. The Commanders put it on them, and what did Deshaun do? He was 15 of 28. That's not good. $125 and a QB rating of 77. He's a mess. They're a mess. But again, don't get credit for being in a house on fire because, well, you lit the match. So yeah, the Browns are bad. They are terrible. Are the Browns going to get the number 1 pick? Are they going to ride this whole thing and get the number 1 pick, and hopefully then they can get rid of Deshaun because you'll get a quarterback on a rookie deal?
I still think it could be the Jags.
You think the Jags?
I think the Jags had 1 week of Trevor Lawrence looking competent.
He's back. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
they beat the Colts. He's back. 371.
Let's just look. So, guaranteed, no matter what happens, they're not better than the Texans. Guaranteed, no matter what happens.
Texans are good. That's not even are they good? The Texans are good.
Yes.
CJ Stroud is a dude. God,
yes.
He is so much fun to watch.
And then you get the Titans in that division too, right?
Yeah, I think the Titans stink.
They do. So, they could be the second best team in that division because Will Levis is terrible.
And I don't think the Colts are going to hold. I don't think the Colts are very good. But again,
you think they will? But they probably could be when Anthony Richardson comes back. If
here's what I wonder about the Colts: Shane Steichen, I believe, is their head coach, and I don't know what his deal was, but against the Steelers last week, Anthony Richardson they run a designed run for Anthony Richardson, and he gets hit back/hip, and he goes out, and he goes to the tent, and because Anthony Richardson wants to continue to play, and he's kind of a dog, and he's like, yeah, I'm fine. And that's one of the things that I've always appreciated about quarterbacks. Oh, quarterbacks are soft. No, they have to stand there and get teed off on, and most of them, if they are going to have a career, they find a way to come back into games. Anthony Richardson gets hit in the hip and goes hobbling off, goes into the blue tent, comes back onto the field, and Brendan, the Colts run another designed run and get him a concussion. Against the best defense. Well, it was the best defense in the NFL. Maybe not so much anymore. All right. Are the 49ers bad, or are they just injured?
Injured. Can't say that they're bad. No. Just injured. Too injured. That happens from time to time in a year.
Let me ask this question. Do we think Christian McCaffrey is ever going to be back to the Christian McCaffrey we saw the last 2 years? Does that guy still exist? And I hope he does because he's fun to watch. And I'm not a 49er fan, but When you're flying off to Germany to get German treatments, and it ain't just for the schnitzel, I worry if he ever makes it like all the way back. But we'll see.
Yeah, no, I think he will. I think that obviously he might not play this season, but
so if he doesn't play this season, can we say the 49ers are bad without him? I guess it kind of depends on Debo.
It does.
And
Brock Purdy's looked pretty average, right, so far this season. So, yeah, they've been odd. It's interesting. They play Thursday this week.
Yes, against the Hawks.
Right? Then they play the Chiefs. The Chiefs are on a bye this week. I think that game, Chiefs-Niners, is going to tell us so much about the Chiefs that will be undefeated going into that game.
Yep.
And the Niners, who will probably be getting back to healthy. I'm circling that game in 2 weeks, Justin. Because, the 49ers, to make matters worse, now their kicker might be out for the year. So, the Niners just, keep having guys drop like flies. And you're like...
I think Chad on the on Rip City Drive last week played a clip of Kyle Shanahan doing the injury report. And it would have been faster if he would have said who did participate in practice. If he just ran through the roster of who was actually practicing as opposed to who was not practicing, I think that would have been insane. I think it would have been faster. All right, let's talk Seahawks. Seahawks come out of the gate, they're 3-0. Seahawks fans are like, oh man, a little bit worried about this whole not having Pete Carroll thing, but 3-0. Now, was it a bit of fool's gold because you got the Broncos with Bo Nix, and I love Bo Nix, but the Broncos defense is keeping them in games, and for the time being, Bo's not doing a ton to lose them games, but he did in that game. The Patriots, who are bad, and the Dolphins without Tua. Now, the Dolphins got back to a win, but that win is against the Carolina Panthers, who are also very bad. And so the Seahawks go up against the Lions and the Giants, and they take now 2 L's in a row. This one against the Giants at home, and it looked as though Geno Smith was going to orchestrate a game-tying drive, and the Seahawks were there to kick what was going to be a game-tying field goal in the fourth quarter, and holy cow, homeboy for the Giants jumps over the line, which I thought was illegal because Cam Chancellor of the Seahawks used to do it all the time, and then they made it illegal, but it turns out there's a clause in the rule. And Brendan, hand up, first time I'd heard about this. If you jump through the gap between the center and guard, that's legal to do. If you jump over the center, that is illegal. So the Giants, by a margin of about 1.5 feet, block the field goal, scoop and score, 9-point win instead of tie going to overtime. And I think the Seahawks would have won in overtime. Boy, oh boy. That's tough L.
Well, and here's
it's tough
the
L
thing
to take. Now again, you put yourself in that position to be there in the fourth quarter, but that's a tough L to take.
This is closer to the team that I thought the Seahawks would be. I thought out the gate, I'm like, they were great, they were hot, but I kind of thought the Seahawks would be a team that would kind of struggle to make the wild card. Now that's not an indictment on Mike McDonald or anything like that. I just think that now
he's 5 games in, yeah.
I think now you've kind of seen the Cardinals have more of a pulse this year. The Rams are kind of still that division is still up for grabs.
That division's all right. So I believe the NFC East is a mess of a division. Because I'm with you. I don't know if the Commanders are hanging on. They might. They might be the Texans.
I just look at Jaden Daniels and I go, how have you not gotten injured yet? With the way
he might be one of those guys with just rubber bones. You know what I mean?
He might be, but he's just so skinny and he runs so much.
He does run so much.
We'll see.
But you look at the NFC West right now, and there's not really a team to trust. 49ers are hurt. The Seahawks, like you said, are the Seahawks. I don't trust Kyler Murray to win the division. And then you've got the Rams. They're old. They just lost to the Packers. They're 1-4. They're 1-4. So I don't know. It's interesting. That's why the NFL is great, because it's got a whole lot to shake out. Now, let's talk about this. We got just about 3 minutes to go. See, I managed to get through the entire NFL. Haven't brought up the Steelers yet. If Russell Wilson is healthy, he needs to be playing quarterback next week. I'm calling it. I'm saying, and Brendan, you have been around me long enough. You have been around me long enough to know that I don't fly off the handle and make a lot of emotional decisions with regard to football things. I'd like to be like, well, let's see. I've seen enough of Justin Fields. I've seen enough of this offense. If Russell Wilson is healthy, and by the way, the indications were, and again, if you watched Sunday Night Football, if you stuck around through the rain delay, if you didn't turn the channel and start watching playoff baseball or flip around and maybe find some Netflix to watch, on the broadcast, I believe it was Chris Collinsworth, came out and said, yeah, Russ says he's very close and that he looks for, basically saying that, yeah, the Steelers are going to have Russell Wilson start for them when he is healthy. And Russell Wilson says he is very close to being healthy. Hot take, if the Steelers didn't jump out to 3-0, I think they might have tried to push Russ this last week. But the fact was they were 3-1. And they're like, it's a long season. Russ is an older quarterback. If we can get 5 weeks in and have Russell Wilson play a 12-game season instead of a 17-game season, that might prolong maybe some injuries. But I've seen enough of Justin Fields. They go to the Raiders next week. They're bad, right? Raiders are bad. They just benched Minshew.
Yeah, they are so bad. Antonio Pierce is a fraud. Called that before the season started. End of story.
Did you see Antonio Pierce got a 9-year show cause in the NCAA?
Man, that's what happens when you cheat.
Well, not only cheat, but cheat with some flair because he was taking recruits during a time in COVID when you're not supposed to be with recruits, taking them to strip clubs. 9-year show cause.
I also
never coached in college ever again.
Though. Like, that's a way to influence an 18 to 22-year-old, all right? Trust me, Justin, you remember what it was like to be 18 to 22?
Vaguely. I'm getting older. It's getting more and more foggy. But Steelers go to the Raiders in Vegas next week. You got to play Russ. I'm ready. I'm ready to see Russell Wilson. You got it. Like I said, he's the jug of milk. We got to sniff to see if it's still good. We got to. So there you go. There's some NFL news and notes.
And we didn't even get to the undefeated team, Justin, which bothers me slightly.
See, I think it's way better to talk about the teams that are kind of stink right now, as opposed to which undefeated team? The Chiefs?
Yeah, well, I mean,
the Chiefs
5-0. They've had like 5 major injuries and no big deal. They just keep winning.
That's just because the Chiefs, in the best possible way, are boring because it's like, yeah, they're going to be good. Hey, did they just lose Reese Rice? Yeah, doesn't matter. They're still good.
Still got my homie, baby.
Yeah, Chiefs are awesome. They just are. I got nothing more to say about the Chiefs.
Fair.
They're awesome.
Fair. I'm glad we mentioned them, though.
Taylor was there. That's awesome. All right. You know what else is awesome? NBA basketball, and it is on the way. October the 23rd is when the Blazers open up the season against the Golden State Warriors. Tickets are currently on sale right now. Visit trailblazer.com/tickets and plan your trip to Rip City to experience the opening night tip-off of the 2024-2025 Trailblazer basketball season at Moda Center. Basketball is back, baby. Let's go Blazers as they open up the season on the 23rd. We go on campus next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we'll get back to some more NFL coming up in hour number 2. Also, we'll talk some NBA in hour number 3 when our good friend Devon Pouncey joins the show for the entire third hour of the program. But it is still Rip City Mornings. It is still hosted by myself, Justin Myers, which means we will be doing some college football talk because right now the college football world is preparing and ready to ascend upon the central Willamette Valley as the Oregon Ducks, the number 3 team in the country, will be taking on the number 2 Ohio State Buckeyes. And I have heard that the wave of red is on the move from the beautiful Midwest state of Ohio. Happened to be there a couple of years ago. I kind of liked it. Well, they're on the move. They're coming out west. And not only that, but there are a handful of other news and notes. Georgia gets another player arrested. Is the honeymoon now officially over for Kalen DeBoer? Is that all it took? If you listen to Paul Feinbaum's show, you would think so. And is there a former Pac-12 member that we're sleeping on a little bit? We need some cool drums. It is time to go on campus. Here we go. All right, so quick news and notes. Georgia has another player arrested. Early Tuesday morning, late Monday night, receiver from Georgia, transfer from Miami. What was his name? Colby Young was arrested Tuesday morning. That's another one of multiple arrests that have been going on in the Georgia Bulldog program. I anticipate him to be suspended for a bit and then ultimately dismissed. Meanwhile, speaking of Georgia, Kirby Smart says fans aren't loud enough. Says we were there, sellout crowd. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it, Bulldog fans. So Kirby Smart's calling out his fans. Meanwhile, the fans of Alabama are calling out Kalen DeBoer. It's what happens when you lose to Vanderbilt for the first time in 40 years. And
wonder if they got the goalposts out. Was that yesterday's Parks and Rec job?
Okay, I was thinking about this. You mentioned this, that they are auctioning off.
So they're all gone now.
Things like pylons.
Oh, yeah, they were gone before our show ended, which is insane.
But here's my question. How do we know it's the pylon?
Smell it.
Do you just have to, trust?
I'd smell it.
Did they go rummaging through, the athletic department closet? Because when I was a kid, my dad was a coach, and I would get to kind of rummage through the locker, and you find a lot of old stuff in some closets in some locker rooms. Do you think at Vanderbilt, they're like, guys, find every pylon we got, and we are selling them. They're going for $800 a pop on the internet. We need some NIL money. Let's find every pylon we got.
Yeah, more like $2,000 and $4,000, Justin. But
for the pylons?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
You got to remember Vanderbilt, very rich.
Get to Dick's
base.
Sporting Goods and get us some more pylons.
Vanderbilt is a very rich alumni base. And you buy a piece of history. Heck, if I was a rich Vandy alum, I'd probably drop a couple grand.
Why wouldn't they give more money directly to football, though? You would think. You know what I mean?
But
instead, they just buy silly pylons. But according to multiple callers of the Paul Feinbaum show yesterday, the honeymoon is over for Kalen DeBoer.
Ooh, Nelly.
One caller said losing to Vanderbilt is like your wife sleeping with your neighbor, and said that we're gonna. It's the truth call. I was listening to all these calls yesterday.
At least it's not like your best friend.
Well, says you're like your wife sleeping with your neighbor. He said you might stick with her for the kids, but you never trust her again. He said Kalen DeBoer could win a national title, but we can't trust him ever again because you lost to Vanderbilt.
That's heavy, man.
Woo!
Well, this is why you don't want to be the guy who follows the guy. We said it.
Well, here's the other thing. So Alabama can still go to the playoff, and if you look at the way the whole schedule is laid out, right? So Alabama has a game at Tennessee in 2 weeks. That's going to be their toughest game of the rest of the way out. South Carolina, they'll be favored in that game at home. They got to go to Tennessee. That's going to be a tough game. I don't know if they'll be favored or not. We'll see how the Volunteers bounce back from their loss to Arkansas. Missouri, they got smoke showed by Texas A&M. They were a bit of a fraud. LSU, I still think that's an Alabama team that went on the field and beat Georgia. They get their fun November game against Mercer. They got to go to Oklahoma, which that'll be interesting. And then they get Auburn in the Iron Bowl. They could be right back in it in a couple of months. But will all be forgotten. See, this is different than losing a game to like South Carolina or losing a game to, Auburn wouldn't be it, but heck, they would have been better off losing to South Florida. The fact that they lost to Vanderbilt and the reputation or lack thereof that Vanderbilt has, that's the worst of it. It's one thing to lose when you're the number one team in the country. By the way, fun stat I learned. Brendan, this is the first number one team in the country to lose as more than a 2-touchdown favorite since
2008.
2008. Game you and I were both at. Didn't know each other back then, but
yeah, no, the Beavers were quite terrible going into that game. They were got their doors blown off by Penn State, got their doors blown off by, well, not blown off, but got their doors beat by Jim Harbaugh and beat Hawaii by, I think, 10. And we're like, yeah, let's go play number one. See how this goes.
2008 was the last time a number one team that was more than a 2-touchdown favorite.
Yeah, we were sitting up in the press box, Justin, trying to figure out when we knew that result was going to happen. Mm-hmm. We're like, was Oregon State the last team? It had been done before, like since.
Number one losing to unranked?
Yes.
But not as a 2-touchdown favorite.
Yes, that is the stat that I love to hear because we couldn't figure out what, like, the first since Oregon State, so that's great. Because
now, I will say this. I stole that stat from somewhere.
No,
I didn't come up with it on my own. I did not research that. Hand up. I ripped that right off.
But
I don't know where I heard it, but I heard it.
But, yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? Now, if this Alabama team doesn't lose a game all year, wins out, wins a championship, you know, Justin, I bet.
But you still lost to Vanderbilt.
I bet Mark Sanchez would have liked that opportunity.
Yeah, probably would have. All right, lastly, are we sleeping on Arizona State?
Maybe.
Are we sleeping on the Sun
You're the
Devils?
one that had no faith in Kenny. From the
it's
moment
very true. I'm
from
turning
the moment
around.
he got hired, you're like, I'm out.
I might be wrong about that one because I think Kenny Dillingham might be a pretty good hire. They're 4-1. They lost to Texas Tech. They got to win against Kansas. Kansas kind of stinks. Kansas is 1-5, but they got to win. They face Utah Friday night game against Utah, but I thought Kenny Dillingham was too emotional. Maybe that just might be the fact that he's so young, but you look at great coaches, very few of them are like psychopaths on the sidelines, and Dillingham's kind of was one, but I'll be first to admit when I'm wrong. Sun Devils 4-1. And old buddy from West Lynn. Who am I forgetting?
Beaverton.
I thought he was from West Lynn.
Sam Levitt? I thought it was Beaverton.
I thought it was West Lynn. We need to find this out. This is very important stuff. And Googling.
Okay, you're right, West Lynn.
Boom.
I thought it was Beaverton. All right, fair enough.
We're a pro West Lynn radio program on this one. All right.
Well, you are. I'm pro Sherwood, so, you know, that is that. Like, you have your reasons, I have.
Yeah, that's very true. Find out when they meet on the hardwood.
Well, we know y'all got a pretty good coach, I hear.
I'm just jumping on a bandwagon, dude. It's the best. All right, but Dillingham's, I think he's doing a good job. Clearly, he's 4-1, but unranked.
Are they real? Do you buy it?
Find out against Utah, won't we? All right, coming up, we got some more NFL to talk about. We got make or miss. Do I have a get off my lawn ready for you on a Tuesday? Next, 620 Rip City Radio.
7 a.m. on a Tuesday. Brendan Slaughter with you for Rip City Mornings. The Kansas City Chiefs moved to 5-0 for the first time since 2018. Patrick Mahomes' rookie season, or second season, I should say, with a 26-13 win over the New Orleans Saints, who have noticeably cooled down after their sizzling hot start. Over in MLB playoff action, the ALDS saw Detroit even up the series with Cleveland with a 3-zip win, and the Royals even up the series with the Yanks with a 4-2 win. Coming up on the big show, we got Devon Pouncey in Hour 3. Talk a whole lot of hoops and much more with him. We got Make or Miss this hour. You got Rip City Mornings coming up.
And welcome back to Rip City Mornings. Hopefully you are all having a fantastic Tuesday. We're having a good time. Obviously, a lot of NFL stuff to talk about from over the weekend. A bit overshadowed yesterday for obvious reasons when you look at what happened in college football and you look at what is coming to Eugene in just a couple of days. But a very eventful Week 5 of the NFL as we played our fun game last segment of Are They Good or Are They Bad? I want to bring up this because, as we know in the NFL world, Father Time is undefeated, and as much as we would love to see our favorite players continue to play forever, at some point it just gets to be too much. Stuff starts piling up, situations, contracts, all that stuff, and you're seeing a crop of young quarterbacks. And really, they're kind of coming into their prime, being led by Patrick Mahomes. But speaking of young quarter, did you see the fourth quarter touchdown that Lamar Jackson threw against the Cincinnati Bengals? I know that Lamar Jackson is not a perfect quarterback, and I am a Steelers fan, and I do not want the Ravens to be. But that was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in an NFL game. Like, Lamar Jackson made the Bengals look like a high school football team. You know, you watch, like, those high school films. Brendan, you cover recruiting. You know, you see these high school films, and you're like, okay, who are these poor guys that this five-star is playing against in this private school league, wherever? And he can just – Lamar Jackson did that in the NFL on Sunday. That was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. And I don't think that's hyperbole. But – you see this group of quarterbacks being led by Patrick Mahomes, but you got Josh Allen, you've got Lamar Jackson, Chargers and Herbert are 2-2. We'll see how that one ultimately plays out, and then of course you got C.J. Stroud, who might be all right. Hot NFL take, and I just talked about how great Lamar Jackson is. Brendan, is C.J. Stroud the second best quarterback in the NFL? Are we ready to, in year 2, am I out over my skis? Because I think
We're assuming Patrick is number 1.
That's what I said, yeah. Okay. Patrick Mahomes, number 1. It was kind of assumed that Josh Allen would be the second best quarterback, and I think Josh Allen is incredibly talented. Are we almost,
but what has he won?
Are we almost to the point where C.J. Stroud is the second best quarterback in the NFL?
I think right now it's the Mahomes and the Mahomes-ites. You have to prove you can win something. And
sure.
There is not one other quarterback right now who has proven.
But somebody's got to be second best.
No, for sure. But
on the Brendan Slaughter quarterback power rankings, who is the second best quarterback in the NFL right now? Might be C.J. Stroud.
C.J. Stroud or Lamar Jackson.
Or Josh Allen. I'm not ready to give up on Josh Allen.
I don't think he's in that mix. I think he's a good player, but again, I've seen Josh Allen. He doesn't win when it matters. Like, he doesn't win.
Well, I mean, 19 seconds away. He didn't play defense that one game.
If ifs and ands were pots and pans, we'd all have fun in the kitchen.
Okay. But you just said Lamar Jackson and C.J. Stroud.
Lamar's got a couple MVPs, Justin.
Yeah, but Josh, in terms of, you said win when it counts. That's the biggest knock on Lamar Jackson, is that he can't win in the playoffs. Is that he's incredible during the regular season, but when it comes down to the playoffs, that he can't win in the when it is
That's fair. I mean,
when it's crunch time.
I'm splitting hairs a little bit, but
We're
yeah,
all
I
splitting
think
hairs
that
here, yeah.
I think that Lamar is. I don't
Mhm.
don't believe in the Bills. I don't believe in the Bills. I haven't believed in the Bills. They just. I don't know. You like the last 4 years, you keep thinking like they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it, and oh no, now it's the Texans. Now it's the I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
I think Josh Allen's ridiculously talented, but when you take away players like Stephon Diggs,
boy, I'd take him on my team.
and you don't replace him, and then you
How
have
do the Chiefs keep doing
dude,
it? By
you see
the way,
that?
how do the Chiefs keep doing it? Like they lost
the Tom Brady method?
They lost Tyreek Hill, and they're just like, we're fine. And it's like we lose Reese Rice, who wasn't even like that big of a deal. Like, man, we're fine.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that game with a fine-tooth comb last night.
As long as you have Kelsey, I guess.
Fine is relative. Like Torrey Aikman said last night, he's like, man, this Kansas City Chiefs team, how much different than Patrick Mahomes' early career? You're seeing 3-4 tight ends on the field at one point, and it's like,
yeah,
because
they'll put all tight ends out there.
Right, because Andy Reid is so smart, he goes, okay, we can still win. We're just going to have to win very differently. And that's why this is like Brady throwing to Chris Hogan, throwing to Philip Dorsett. You're like, okay, you got Julian Edelman, right, the Kelsey.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, then you got a whole bunch of other dudes who just really good in their roles, man.
All right, let me ask you this.
Kareem Hunt coming out of nowhere to, like, save their backfield, Justin. Like,
I know.
If you were not a Chiefs fan, and I've kind of adopted them a little bit, I could see where they would be annoying because they get a lot of breaks.
It helps when you have Patrick Mahomes. I guess if you have
He's
Patrick
so
Mahomes on
freaking
your
good.
team, you end up getting breaks. But
He is so good.
all right. You mentioned the Bills. The Bills are in the AFC East. The AFC East, the Dolphins, even though they got the win, they're still without Tua. And you have got
He's back soonish, though, right? A couple weeks, maybe?
But can we anticipate that he's going to make it to the end of the season? I don't like saying that out loud, but I don't know. Like, this is what, concussion number 3 now? Like very visible that we all saw where, his arm went involuntary. And again, I'm not a doctor, clearly not a neurologist, but.
Yeah, so they're on a bye this week. He's having some expert consultation this week. If he is able, and then just with the way that IR worked, he would be eligible to return to practice next week.
Okay.
So we'll keep an eye on that. McDaniel said not a lot of update. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to sit here and stand on my soapbox and say if Tua Tagovailoa says he wants to play football and experts say he can do it, more power to him.
Here's what I wonder about Tua, because I look at that and I go, that is very dangerous. Now, again, it's not my life. It's Tua Tagovailoa's life. So I'm not going to sit there and tell him you should or should not play football. Do you think maybe it's just a bigger deal because he seems to get concussions like when everybody's watching? You know what I mean? Like, it would be different if he got a concussion and went off, like Anthony Richardson got a concussion a week ago. And, like, I watched it because I was watching the Steelers, but it was like the way it goes, the way it happens, the thing with his arm, and it was when everybody was watching it. That might play in a little bit.
So the only kind of what do you call it? Reference that I can use for this, Justin, is one that hit very close to home because, again, not something that you were probably at the foreground of, but you probably might have remembered. There was a stretch from about 2018 to 2019 when Brandon Cooks got 4 concussions. Just boom, 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 boom. It started with getting laid out in the Super Bowl and then he got 3 more after that. And there was a stretch when people were like, Brandon Cooks has to retire. He has to retire. Has to retire.
Yeah, he's still playing.
Brandon Cooks still collecting his paychecks.
Still playing.
So
that's what I'm saying, though. The difference, I think, with Tua is everybody saw it.
Right. I don't know if everybody saw Brandon's, for instance.
Or
right?
even probably a lot of quarterbacks. Like I said, I don't think anybody saw Anthony Richardson's concussion that he got because it was a middle of the week game a middle of the day game against the Steelers.
Yeah, Tua's always seemed to happen on national TV, like in primetime.
Right in front of everybody. And
Sunday Night Football, every time.
One more quarterback I want to talk about. Is Aaron Rodgers cooked?
It's not good.
Is Aaron Rodgers
It's not good.
Is
Justin.
Aaron Rodgers cooked?
He's not cooked, but it's just not good. And Robert Saleh might be cooked. That might be the better answer.
So right now, in terms of, and again, these are stats can be smish-mash to make you whatever. He's 15th in the league in passing, just ahead of Caleb Williams, just behind Trevor Lawrence. Like, that's where he's at. But that being said, you know who's leading the league in yards right now passing? And again, a couple teams have had a bye week, so it's not a fair comparison. Geno Smith's leading the league with 1,400 yards right now at a 70% completion percentage. Like, Geno's quietly having a really good season. They keep turning the ball over. DK with another turnover in this one. But, yeah, Aaron Rodgers, he's 15th right now in passing. He is at 218 yards per game. Now, you have the one weather game in there, right, where it was just a torrential downpour with them and the Broncos, and nobody could move the ball. 218 yards a game, 7 touchdowns to 4 picks. I don't know if that's what the Jets fans thought they were getting when he came out of the darkness cave down in Ashland and said, I have decided I want to be a Jet. Is Aaron Rodgers cooked?
No, I think it's a bigger problem.
Is he going to be around in the postseason?
I mean,
will he take a postseason snap?
Yes.
You think so?
I do. Their defense is elite. As soon as they figure out why in the world, like, again, Justin, they have one of the best running backs in football, and they've stopped handing him the ball. So that's an issue. Then you put it all on.
It's because you got Aaron Rodgers there, and I don't know, like.
Right. So there are.
Like, who's going to win that battle? Like, I know it's not going to be Robert Saleh.
But yeah, Breece Hall is one of the best running backs in the NFL, hands down.
Oh, you're 100% right there. Like that guy is elite.
Like Bijan, Breece Hall, Derrick Henry. Like,
yeah. Derrick Henry did it again last week.
He's really good right now.
I thought he was.
We'll see how much gas is in the tank.
I thought it was a flash in the pan with the 199. He did it again last week.
Let's see. We'll check in like week 16, Justin. We'll see because those legs get a little tired as the year goes on. But yeah, I think the Jets will figure it out. But man, if you are the Jets organization right now, Justin, 2 straight years the San Francisco 49ers had their defensive coordinator hired away. The Jets hired Robert Saleh away. Mm-hmm. Next year, the Texans hired DeMeco Ryans away. The Jets are probably like, we hired the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Just you can't, but you know what I mean?
Like, but it's what ifs, right? It's ifs and ands about Aaron Rodgers. Like, what if he doesn't pop his Achilles a year ago, right? What is the fortunes of that football team if they don't pop his Achilles? And as we are talking about it, they have just fired Robert Saleh.
What did I say?
What did I say? This just popped up on TV.
What did I just say?
Robert Saleh just got fired.
Knew it.
He just got fired.
I knew it, Justin. I absolutely knew this.
We were sitting there talking about Aaron Rodgers, and Robert Saleh just, we know. And I said, who's going to win that battle? Well, very clear that battle's been won. I would imagine we'll do some talk about this coming up in Make or Miss. Do want to let you know, though, hey, cash for the 6 men. 6 men, that's you. $1,000 could be yours right here on Rip City Radio. Keywords each and every weekday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on the 15th. Boy, if you could have seen Brendan going like, look at the TV, dude. Hey, on the 15th, your chance to win $1,000. That's coming up 13 times a day. Get all the details at ripcityradio.com. NFL breaking news and Make or Miss next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, coming up in the third hour of the program, Devon Pouncey is going to be joining us live in studio. Talk some NBA as Blazers get underway Friday. We got preseason action going on Friday. As what do they got? The Clippers up in Seattle. I think they're playing at Climate Pledge Arena up in Seattle. It's the annual what's his name? Clippers. Steve Ballmer gift to Seattle. Hey, remember the NBA? I'm going to bring my team and play a preseason game just to give you a little taste. So that's going to be happening on Friday. So we'll talk to Pounce about that. Plus the NBA right around the corner. Blazers dealing with some early season injury news. Is it 4 to 6 weeks for Shaedon? He's out.
Yeah.
4 to 6 weeks, and then Robert Williams out for I think a month with with a hamstring. And was there Batiste Thibault news, or did I?
It sounds like he's just a little dinged up as well.
Okay,
so
it's already starting.
It is.
It's already happening. Winter is coming. That's already here. We're in week one.
Winter will forever and always be coming.
We're in week 1 of October, and the Blazers' injury winter is already upon us. But talk some hoop with Pounce coming up. But obviously, major NFL news going on right now. The Jets have fired Robert Saleh 5 games into the season.
Justin, this is so unexpected. They're grabbing Adam.
They're 2 and 3.
They're grabbing Adam Schefter in the back of a moving car right now.
I know, it's hilarious.
Like, this is. I knew there was going to be a power struggle. I did not expect Woody Johnson to pull the trigger this fast. This is, like I told you, Justin, we gave up a ton for Aaron. We're not winning. Put up or take a pink slip.
Here's my thoughts on this. I'm looking at their schedule right now. They are 2 and 3. They have a win against the Titans and a win against the Patriots. Both those teams stink. They've lost to the 49ers week 1. We all watched that. That was Monday Night Football, I believe. They lost a 10-9 game to the Broncos, where they had a field goal to win it at the end of regulation, and it knuckleballed out. And then they lost to the Vikings last week in London, and the Vikings are good. But I think that Broncos loss, that 10-9, did we just lose a game to a rookie quarterback who threw 60 yards, and we just lost a game? And you saw from early on in the season, remember that awkward exchange between Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh, and Aaron Rodgers oh, what are you talking about? It was just no big deal, huh? No big thing. Well, then we saw Aaron Rodgers sitting on the bench after that loss to the Broncos with the towel over his head. There are few players in the NFL that I believe have the ability to get a coach fired. Few. Because the NFL isn't like the NBA. Not saying it's 100%, but there's only a handful of players that I believe are good enough and have enough credit to get a coach fired in the NFL. And I think that's what happened here.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
And this would be crazy, but
it's crazy.
You think Mahomes could get Reid fired if he wanted to?
Yes.
If he wanted
to. I think Patrick Mahomes could get someone fired. So, but like the
crazy,
opposite,
right?
Justin Herbert couldn't get Jim Harbaugh fired.
Oh, no.
You know what I'm saying? But if from an NBA perspective, a player as good as Justin Herbert in the NFL, in the NBA, he could get a coach fired. But that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so could Justin Jefferson get Kevin O'Connell fired?
I don't think so.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. So you think it might be
that's close,
right?
But I don't think so.
I mean, they're 5-0. So
they're
it's a
5-0
stupid discussion. But
I think
again, I look at this, Justin, and I think it's everything you said. But again, I'm just obsessed with talented players, and that's again the kind of the fantasy part of my brain. But I look at their schedule, Justin. Like we just said last segment, they have one of the top 5 running backs in the NFL. He's young, he's big, he's strong, he's fast. He has not eclipsed more than 62 rushing yards in a game this season.
Yeah, it's a tough look. That's a tough look.
But
their offensive line's awful, right?
Their
offensive line's terrible because that's what Aaron Rodgers was talking about. He kept getting.
So all that.
By the way,
all that to say,
you know what I just thought of?
Could be.
Is Aaron Rodgers going to be on McAfee later today?
He's going to be proud.
He usually goes on every Tuesday.
He'll be
Is Aaron Rodgers going on McAfee?
He'll be gleaning from eye to eye, just be like, Yep, needed to make a change. Talked to Woody and got it done.
Am I crazy, though, to think – I'm not that this was a 100% Aaron Rodgers decision, but I got to imagine that's why you fire a coach in October.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
The first week of October.
Yeah.
Nonetheless.
Where Aaron Rodgers clearly was like, this ain't the guy. This ain't it.
It's just, I'm still
Jeff
just
Urbick, defensive coordinator, has been
So that's interesting
interim.
to me.
So I thought it was because I was looking, it's like,
Me
is
too.
Nathaniel Hackett going to be moved up?
And-
No, he's not.
And even Woody Johnson wasn't going to be like, hey, Aaron, I'm not going to give you both. I'm not going to give you a new guy and give you a coach who we saw in Denver get fired after what? Well, even Hackett made it 8 weeks, which is insane.
So, real quick, because I do want to get to make or miss. I'm sure you've worked very, very hard on this. But who could get a coach fired in the league, in the NFL?
Let's look.
I think Patrick Mahomes could. He won't, but he could.
Like, say in like 3 years, Andy Reid falls off, right? And Chiefs fans are like, we can't get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Mahomes wanted to, you think that would
But
be
that's
done.
so tough because Andy Reid is the greatest coach that the Kansas City
Right?
Chiefs have ever
So
had.
I don't know if that one's as cut and dry. Maybe not.
I still think if Patrick Mahomes, just like I said in the NBA, if Steph Curry wanted Steve Kerr fired, he could do it.
See, I push back on that one
You
too.
might, but I don't
fair.
think. There's a lot of kids that show up in Steph Curry jerseys.
Oh, I know.
And there's a lot of kids with the Patrick Mahomes haircut, right? And they're not wearing the Andy Reid mustache. But
could C.J. Stroud get D'Amico Ryans fired?
Not yet, but he's close.
Ooh,
He's
could
close.
Lamar get John Harbaugh
No.
fired?
No. They put him on waivers, remember? 2 years ago, the Ravens put him on waivers.
They're like, hey, anyone want to pay him? Nope. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So I don't
Okay.
think Lamar Jackson could. I think
Could Josh Allen get Sean McDermott fired?
Yeah.
I think he could.
I think he could.
For how much they've toiled away in mediocrity, and I say mediocrity like just losing in the wild card every year or divisional round every year. I know Justin said they were that close last year, but still.
And I think also you have to talk about the coach as well. Like the Andy Reid part of it is like, well, Patrick Mahomes could probably get any coach fired he wanted, but that's still Andy Reid.
Joe Burrow could get Zach Taylor
That's
fired.
what I was going to say. I think Joe Burrow, even at 1-4,
Yes, he could.
Joe Burrow would be like, hey, this
I'm
ain't
your guy.
working. Yeah. Joe Burrow could get Zach Taylor fired.
I think that's it for the AFC, Justin. I really do. As I'm looking at it,
Could Trevor Lawrence get Doug Peterson fired?
No, I don't think so.
I don't
Not
think
with
he
how
could
he's-
either.
Not right now. Maybe a year ago.
Yeah, not right now.
I think that's it for the AFC, which is crazy.
Could TJ Watt get Mike Tomlin
No,
fired?
Mike Tomlin will be there until the day he
If TJ Watt
is pushed out.
went into Old Man Rooney's office and said, and he won't because he loves Tomlin and Tomlin loves
Pure
him.
hypothetical.
But in a hypothetical, TJ Watt walks in to Art Rooney II, I think, his office and says,
Sure, it's not the third.
well, there's a, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well,
I know what
one
you mean.
I think is the primary owner, and then one runs day-to-day operations.
Sure.
I can't remember which one. I probably should know this.
Considering they've had
Rooney is there in the office, and what happens if TJ Watt walks into that Rooney's office and goes, Tomlin and I aren't seeing eye to eye. I want to be a Steeler for the rest of my life. I want to have a legacy in Pittsburgh, but if you keep him around, I'm leaving. Whew.
Here's why.
I think TJ Watt might have that kind of.
Here's why I think Mike Tomlin wins. Because, again, tell me that stat. They've had how many coaches since 1967?
3.
Yep. And
They
then,
don't. I know they don't fire coaches.
and then-
That's
and
the other
then
thing.
two, they would look at it and go, okay, TJ, you've probably got 6 good elite years left. Mike Tomlin can coach for 20 more years.
Yeah,
That's kind of how I look at it, man.
that's a lot of 9-win seasons. I'm
That's
staring
why I said
down.
Mike Tomlin is
Not a lot of 11-win
He's
seasons. but a
almost
lot of 9-win.
untouchable, man. I mean, maybe Big Ben in his prime when he was leading, like.
Nah, not even then.
But yeah, I think Mike Tomlin's untouchable. I really do.
Could Jalen Hurts get Nick Sirianni fired?
Yes, and that might happen at the end of this year.
That
Yes.
might happen.
Yep, it could. Someone will lose that battle.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for. And then, like I said, I want to move over to the NFC. We talked about it. Obviously, it's not Darnold, but I think Justin Jefferson has enough of a pull to get Kevin O'Connell fired. I really do. He's the best receiver in football, objectively. He's the highest paid receiver in football.
But I think I go back to kind of what we were talking about, though, with Tomlin. Like, if the Vikings believe, now again, like you said, this is purely hypothetical, and the Vikings are undefeated right now,
right?
which is kind of silly, but it's a fun conversation nonetheless. I think if you're the Vikings, you're like, we believe Kevin O'Connell is our coach for the next 15 years. JJ, you got like
if not more. Kevin O'Connell's like 30.
Yeah, you got like 4 good years left, dude.
It's true.
We're just gonna wait you out.
Yeah, yeah. So see,
it very rarely happens, which is funny because it's happening with the Jets. But again, it's all circumstances are circumstantial. You know what I mean? And it's like
there's not one player.
Aaron Rodgers has got the pull, but he couldn't have had the pull against a coach that had any success. He just had it against Robert Saleh. Could Dak get Mike McCarthy fired?
Now that he's been paid and Mike McCarthy's lame duck, absolutely. That's cut and dry.
That's another one we forgot about.
I'll say this. There's not one member of the Lions who could get Dan Campbell fired. Not one.
They love that guy in Detroit. He
might have a job for 10 years, job security.
Let him lose a couple of times. They'll run him right out just like everybody else. But
how bad it was, Justin.
I know. They should love him. And it's one of the best, hot take, Andy Reid's the best hire in the last 20 years in the NFL. Fair to say?
Yes.
Andy Reid going from when he got fired by the Eagles and then the Chiefs hired him, and everybody's like, what are the Chiefs doing? That's the best hire in the last 20 years.
So notice how you go 20, so you don't include Belichick?
No. Belichick's not in that conversation.
I love it.
That's what I'm saying. Last 20 years, Andy Reid's the best hire in the NFL.
Is Pete number 2?
Pete might be number 2.
Right?
And they fired his rear end. Dan Campbell might be top 5 hire of all time. From where the Lions were to where the Lions are.
So bad.
Nobody else could have done that job, I don't think. As much as I love Kyle Shanahan, I don't think he could have done that in Detroit. You needed a crazy Metallica-listening guy like Dan Campbell. You needed that.
A meathead, as Justin says.
Yeah. You needed a crazy, meathead, smash mouth. I'm going to do burpees with the team with the big old chaw in. And see this, man? It's a $5 bill. We're number 5, man. You need that guy.
Oh, absolutely. Here's an interesting one. Because they committed so much money to him, could Kirk Cousins get Raheem Morris fired? A first-time head coach?
Nah, I don't think so.
But you said lack of proof.
Not year one, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think year one.
Obviously, there's not one player on the Seahawks who can fire Mike McDonald.
Nah.
Not one player on the Buccaneers who could fire
I will say
Todd Bowles. Not one.
That's true. But they love Baker down there.
They do.
Did you see that video of Baker pretending to be like a normal dude?
Oh, I saw the video of him.
He was Gus. He's like, so.
Did you see the video of him with Hulk and Morgan?
I did see that.
That was so sweet, dude. That was the video I thought you were talking about.
No.
Yeah, it was like the Hulkster and Morgan Wallen and Baker, man. What a trio. What a trio.
How about the Hulkster? What a run for the Hulkster. A lot of ups, a couple of downs.
A couple down. Hey, it's Mr. McMahon. You can watch it.
Still the Hulkster, though. No, so Baker Mayfield pulled was it Chad Powers? Remember when Eli was Chad Powers?
Yeah. And they're making a whole movie on that.
Yeah, well, Baker did that. He dressed up as this guy named Gus, and he was in a fan group, and there was touring Raymond James Stadium, and
awesome.
Pretended to be a Buccaneers fan, and they're like, all right, if anybody can throw the football in this group more than 50 yards, you all win an autographed football. And all these fans are throwing it, and they can't make it more than 15 yards. And then Bake gets out there and just.
How far could you throw a football, Justin?
It's a good question.
Regular. I couldn't grip it, so it'd be like 15 for your boy, too. My hands were never big enough. I was like Kenny Pickett.
So in this thing, they said if they could throw it 30 yards, everyone would win a football. And if you could throw it 50 yards, everyone would win an autographed football. I don't think I could throw a football 50 yards. I think I could get a 30.
Ooh, okay. I like that.
I think I could throw a football 30 yards.
Might have to put this to the test at some point.
Now,
this is a theory we could test out.
Let me tell you, I don't have a second throw in me. I have one.
Would you need some Advil?
I would need probably some labrum surgery. Is what I would need. All right, just for you know what and gigs. Let's fire up Make or Miss.
Yes, I would like to continue this conversation because we're almost done, Justin.
Yeah.
Let's Let's go rapid fire.
Okay.
There's a couple that I want to get to, but as
This
far
will be
as
the first ever rapid fire make or miss. Let's see if I can be brief.
So, could Jordan Love get Matt LaFleur fired?
Oh.
Maybe.
Maybe.
That's the first maybe that I've thought.
I'm going to say no.
Could Caleb Williams get Matt Eberflus fired in year one?
No.
Okay.
Whoa.
Oh.
He could. Yeah, he could. I don't think they like Eberflus in Chicago. Because again, like I said, all situations are situational. I don't think they like Eberflus in Chicago.
Okay, I'm gonna throw in a different player. Could Alvin Kamara get Dennis Allen fired? Because
No.
I don't think
No.
Derek Carr's the ringleader there.
No.
I think it's maybe even Cam Jordan.
He's a running back too.
Like Cam Jordan maybe is kind of like their leader. But yeah, I don't think.
Okay, I got one. You ready for this?
Do it.
Could Max Crosby get Antonio Pierce fired?
Yes.
I think so too.
Yeah. No. Because
I think he could.
one player goes up to old
Max Crosby goes to
old bowl cut.
Mark Davis.
Yeah.
Old bowl cut. He doesn't even have a bowl cut.
What
it's not
is
even,
it then?
It's a bad haircut
Okay.
is what it is. I had a bowl cut when I was 12, when I was 12 years old. It was like, yeah, like that was the style, dude. It looked cool.
That being said, if he went to him and said, "This is not working, fire him," he would.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Ooh.
Max Crosby could get him fired.
Could Malik Neighbors get Brian Daboll fired?
No.
Okay.
No.
Nobody
Brian Daboll might get Brian Daboll fired.
Fair. Nobody on the
even though
Niners.
it's not his fault. He didn't give Daniel Jones $30 million a year to play quarter. Now, again, they're 2-3.
Nobody on the
They're
Niners.
2-3. Do we know the Giants are bad?
Not yet. If Stafford went to Kroenke and said, "Get rid of McVay," I say no. I think
no.
I think-
Stafford's too old.
I think so. And then we arrive at Carolina. So could Andy Dalton get Brian Canales fired?
Nobody. They might all get themselves
Yeah.
fired.
Could the Red Rocket get him fired? Okay. Now let's go ahead and get into make or miss really quickly. This makes sense, Justin. And I say throw it out there because there is precedent. The Jets should go hire Belichick right now.
Oh.
Like Jeff Saturday style. Right now.
It'd be
Aaron
hilarious.
Rodgers would not say no.
It'd be hilarious. He was the Jets coach for like a day and a half, right? Wasn't he?
Then they gave it to the Bill Parcells.
Then they gave it to
I
Bill
remember that
Parcells.
whole nightmare.
Go
Go hire him right now.
I don't think they're going to hire him right now, but they might hire him next year.
Could you imagine in the same division as the Patriots too? He'd get revenge on the Patriots
And comes back. Now, I wonder how much bad blood is still there. Because remember, the breakup with Bill Belichick and the Jets was not pretty.
25 years ago, though. I think the breakup with Kraft was worse at the end. And that whole awkwardness. And I think it's recency bias, Justin.
But if you're the Jets, I guess you just let Aaron Rodgers take over. Aaron Rodgers is not going to want Bill Belichick in the building because Belichick would come in and be like, Rodgers, you're old. Get out. That's what he would do. It's not going to happen, but maybe it'll be fun to watch.
Speaking of the TV, Jeff Saturday's on TV, and he's like, "Hey, you guys want to call me again?" He's like, I'll come and do this
I know.
again." Gosh, it's too funny. But yeah,
The Jets. Well, okay, so remember I asked you that question. I said, "Will Aaron Rodgers take a snap in the postseason?" And I asked you that before Robert Saleh got fired. 48 seconds later, Robert Saleh got fired. So I ask you the same question, young Brendan. Does Aaron Rodgers take a snap in the postseason now that they have fired their coach?
I think I'm going to walk that one back.
Walk it back.
I'm going to walk that one back. I'm not going to say impossible, but
it was 48 seconds later.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It was amazing. It's one of the only times other than CJ McCollum getting traded in the middle of our show where Justin and I have nailed breaking news and been able to literally just like run with it. So crazy.
All right, coming up, it is Tuesday. I do have I got a frustration. You all have to get off my lawn. But something that doesn't make me frustrated is giving you guys, the listening audience, tickets to Trailblazer games. And that's exactly what's going to happen on Rip City Drive later today. That's right. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday is red hot and rolling, and it is back for the 2024-2025 season. Listen to Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad every Tuesday, 3 to 6, for your chance to win tickets to an upcoming Trailblazer home game every Tuesday for your chance to win plus single game tickets right now available at trailblazers.com. It is Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday on Rip City Radio. Get Off My Lawn next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, it is Tuesday, and while the sun is shining, and we have got a top 3 matchup at Autzen Stadium that I shall be attending on Saturday in the college football world, including College Game Day, including the Josh Pay College Football Show, including multiple national shows that are all going to be down in Eugene. Still, doesn't mean we're not all happy and puppy dogs and rainbows. Here, some things just get us grumpy. And, on Tuesday, it is the grumpiest day of the week because you might be excited and even kind of coming in high on life on Monday because of a great weekend. And Wednesday, well, that's hump day. And we can kind of see the weekend ahead. But on Tuesday, it's like, man, is it ever going to get here? And that makes us all a little bit grumpy. And rather than stuff that negativity deep down inside, we let it out. We let it out with a little segment we call Get Off My Lawn. Here we go. There's too many lines on the football field on TV. Too many. I've had enough. I'm putting my foot down. There are too many lines on the football field. When they created the yellow first down marker that we all see on TV, it changed the way we watch football forever. And go back, watch some old games. They're on YouTube. Go back and try to watch an old football game I want to say 1994, when they put that yellow first down marker there, and just look back at the Stone Age that we were watching football. And, is one of the few things that was not even a net positive. 100% approval rate. Nobody disliked the yellow first down marker. Nobody. It was one of those, how have we been living without this? Then, after a while, they threw in another line, the line of scrimmage line. And you're like, that's an extra line. All right, keep in mind that already a regular football field's got a lot of lines on it already, just in general as a football field. And they put in the line of scrimmage line. And you're like, that's interesting. But didn't really distract too much. Then they started putting in the field goal range line. And then they started shading in the spots between the line of scrimmage and the first down line. And then they started throwing in the field goal range line. Finally, with the new kickoff, they now put the lines in there for the landing area, and I say enough. Enough is enough. We do not need such lines from the TV broadcast on the field. I know we can do it, but what do we say in Jurassic Park? Just because you could doesn't mean you stop and think whether or not you should.
But if I created a flock of condors, Justin.
Yeah. Create a flock of condors. Sure. Stop putting lines on the football field. It's getting distracting. Am I crazy? The other day, I can't remember which college football game I was watching because I watched a lot of them on Saturday. And they were on the 15. They still had back behind them the field goal range line there. It's like they're well past the field goal range line. Like, I don't know why you have to keep putting it up there once you get into field goal range. And then we're 5 weeks in. 5 weeks in. We all know how the new kickoff works. We all got it. And some of them do a really big dark green shaded area. We all know how the new kickoff works. We don't need the landing zone graphic. I'm sure some kid, some very smart internet guy at the network made that graphic, and I'm sure they worked very, very hard at it. I worked in TV once. I didn't do any of the graphic stuff. The people that do the graphics, it's so impressive how they do it. I don't even know how. That being said, give me the first down line. You want to throw the line of scrimmage in there? That's fine, too. I might be able to compromise on the field goal range. But that is it, and that is all. Let's call 3. 3 is the magic number. We don't need any more lines on the football field. And by the way, when a team moves into field goal range, you know what you don't have to do anymore? You don't have to put that field goal range line up there anymore. You can just let it be. You just let it sit there and take it out. Because I know it's not up there the entire time. So, to all the networks that are running football games, first off, tip of the cap to you. I appreciate everything that you all have done. That being said, this contest of who can put more stuff on the football field, it's getting out of hand. It is. It's getting out of hand. We don't need it. Are you with me on this one, or am I on Justin Island? Watch the NFL game on Thursday. See how many lines they got on the football field, especially on the kickoff.
Yeah, it's a little much. I can't say. I guess I am that like zoned in that it bothers me all that much.
I never noticed it until this weekend, and I finally was like, "What?" I think it was the field goal range, 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage. I'm like, we think they're going to take a 15-yard sack right now and take them out of field goal range? I think we're all aware that they are in field goal. I think that might have been the tipping point for me. And the landing zone stuff for the new kickoff. Have you gotten used to the new kickoff yet?
It's still weird. It's still very weird. Like
it's almost like you forget about it in the middle of the game.
Well, that, and it's like, I swear if they take it to college, I'm going to be even more upset. Like, it's not fun anymore.
I don't think college could handle it.
No.
To be perfectly, there's too many moving parts. I don't know. College can barely handle targeting, and even then, they still don't get it right and can't get it figured out. So I don't even know if college could handle it. But between the line of scrimmage, also, we don't need to shade in between the line of scrimmage and the first down. Like, we got it. There's a yellow first down marker. Now, I'm not saying take them away. No, sir. Never take the first down. As a matter of fact, I have said for years, have we not found a way to put the first down marker like in real life, like IRL? Like, how has that not become a thing yet? I don't know how you do it. But
in real life.
Do you know what I mean? You notice this too, I'm sure. You watch all these football games on TV, and then you go to research, and like I go to Autzen, and you start, you're like, where's the yellow first? That's right. Oh, yeah, it's only on TV. I start looking for it in real life.
I'm there with my binoculars, like, and looking down the line, man, from that press box. So,
and yeah. Did they get it? It's like, we need that first down marker in real life. We need it. All right. Coming up next, whole third hour, our good friend Devon Pouncey is going to be joining the show. We got some hoops to talk about as well. So, third hour, Rip City Mornings coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio.
8 a.m. on a Tuesday. Brennan Slaughter with you for Rip City Mornings. The Kansas City Chiefs moved to 5-0 for the first time since 2018. That was Patrick Mahomes' first year as starting quarterback, with a 26-13 wins over the New Orleans Saints, who have noticeably cooled off after their 2-0 start to the season. And over in MLB playoff action in the ALDS, we saw Detroit even up the series with Cleveland 3-0, with also the Royals taking down the Yanks 4-2. Both those are now at one game apiece in the ALDS. Coming up on the big show here in just a few minutes, we're going to catch up with Devon Pouncey for the entire third hour. You got the final hour, Rip City Mornings, on a Tuesday with Justin Myers, coming up.
And welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you are all having a fantastic Tuesday. As we mentioned, Devon Pouncey is going to be joining us coming up in a matter of minutes. Get his thoughts on the upcoming basketball season as the Blazers head into 2024 and 2025. It's an interesting spot for the Blazers, obviously dealing with some early season injuries. Which normally I think most people would freak out about. 4 to 6 weeks for Shaedon Sharpe this early on in the season. Oh, we're cursed. But, I mean, I think everybody's kind of on board that if there was ever a season to kind of have another batch of injuries. And this, I don't know if this is a league-wide thing, because while I pay attention to the league, I clearly don't pay attention to the league as much as I pay attention to the Portland Trail Blazers. But it seems as though the Blazers have kind of found their style of, let's be real cautious with injuries. Because the more cautious you are with injuries, well, that's more games without players that could potentially help you win games. Winning games is not what the Blazers are into this year. Now, hopefully this is going to be the last year of it, because we are now heading into year 4 of said rebuild. And I know that there's 2 kind of hybrid years in there, but the moment they shut down Dame and traded away CJ and traded away Covington and Powell and then shut down Ant and shut down Nurk, the moment they did that back in 2022, that was the beginning of this whole thing. The difference is Dame held on for another year. They shut him down again. Got themselves a top 3 pick. Then we had last year with what that was. And now heading into year 4 of the rebuild, you hope that with Scoot, Shaedon being healthy, Clingan, whomever you get in this draft is a nice little young core that you could then build around. And then you could start, I don't know, letting Chauncey Billups coach and let this team try to start winning games. But I'm not doubting the validity or the seriousness of Shaedon Sharpe's injury. That's clear that he's got that sling and everything else. What I'm saying is I think the Blazers, as most teams in their situation, this is not a criticism, it's an observation. Most teams in their situation are going to be ultra careful, let's just say, with regard to player safety. Here's a good rule of thumb. Almost every injury, they will give you a timeline. They'll give you hey, it's 4 to 6 weeks. Just bank on it being 6 weeks for the Blazers this year. Just bank on it being the high end of said injury. And now he's made his way into the studio. Our good friend from the Wake Up and Win podcast, our basketball analyst for Rip City Mornings, Devon Pouncey, back on the big show. Pounce, how we doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I'm feeling good, feeling great.
I don't know if
got
you
a
noticed.
Nice cut. Got a nice haircut
Appreciate
going
that.
over there. I like it.
Tip of the cap to Levi, my barber.
There we go. Free promotion.
When you go to the barber, do they offer you drinks?
Well,
Because my barbershop offers me a drink every time.
Okay.
And I've taken it a couple of times.
That's clutch.
But
How much you paying for that haircut?
don't you worry about it, okay? Don't you worry about it.
And X meets the spot.
Don't you worry about it, okay?
Barber and spa and bar and all the things. Yeah, you got something fancy. My barbershop isn't as fancy. I can tell you that now.
See, we're not like Justin, man. We don't get that high class barber, man.
We're not hosting morning shows around here and get big money to where we can, get open bar at the.
I never thought I was barber bougie. I did not think. Am I barber bougie?
Well, my barber
just
cuts
go to
out
the
of a
barbers,
garage, so
so
I'm sure
like-
you got me beat in that regard.
Definitely. If they offer
Might
you-
not even be legal. I don't know, but it gets the job done.
If they offer you a drink, it's like out of the garage fridge.
Yeah.
So,
Where they got to go in the house and go grab it from the pantry.
Okay, because I go to my barber and they've got they give you a complimentary drink if you want it.
Okay.
But you got the apron on,
Right.
and you got hair flying everywhere, and I see dudes in there and really like skilled barbers.
Yeah.
You know this because I've seen, this is not Ebony and Ivory yet, but I've seen black barbershops in my life.
For sure.
Nobody's just sitting still.
Yeah, no. Black barbershops are lit. It's a
hot.
staple. It's a staple.
And
for
you gotta
black
know,
culture.
and it's a very skilled move of cut. Nope, he's getting a hot take. Get the clippers away.
Yeah.
Then bring it back.
Yeah.
and then
It's
So-
entertainment in there for sure.
So I see, but I always am afraid that I'm going to make one move and I'm going to lose like an eyebrow or something.
Right.
So I always sit pretty still.
Okay.
And so I never so I took the drink once or twice, and then I was like, now I just no, because do I keep it under the apron? Do I go and hey, I need a timeout? So I just don't do it.
Or do you want hair falling in
That's
your drink?
what I'm saying. I'm saying. So I don't take
Maybe
the drink.
before. How's your relationship with your barber? Like
Great.
in terms of do y'all just chop it up, talk
Yeah.
about life, or you just get in, get cut, and get out?
He listens to the show, which is
Okay.
good.
Okay,
So
that's
he
cool.
listens to the show
For sure.
and he very much loves betting on sports.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. So
we're always talking, and I don't mind talking about fantasy football with one person, like a one-on-one.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about fantasy, and we'll talk about the line and point spreads and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I try to I'm like, you're working, but I've also heard from some people who do hair, they're like, it's the worst is when you sit there in silence.
Yeah.
It's just, and I'm like, I don't want to distract you. I want you focused in, but
Yeah, no.
apparently. But anyways,
your relationship with your barber is special.
Levi's been my barber since before COVID. So
Okay,
I got a 5-6 year relationship.
Nice.
And it's, what the best is?
Yeah.
And Brendan, do you have the same? Do you go to the same person, or you go to the same place and just get who you get?
I've been with the same lady for 3-4 years now. She's pretty solid.
It's-
But I get super in my ways, because when I was at school, I only got my hair cut by the same lady for 5 years. There was a time when I moved back here and would drive down and plan my trips to Corvallis around getting a haircut.
There you go.
And then I came up here and I'm like, all right, find someone else that I like. So I'm very stubborn. I'm very stubborn.
I can feel that.
I love the fact, unless I come in and say, you know what, we're going to change it up. I love the fact that I sit there, I give him a little fist bump, we start talking about the NFL game or whatever, and he just goes to work.
Yeah.
And I don't even have to talk to him. I don't have to tell him. He knows.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got it written down somewhere, but he's like, Justin's coming in, boop, boop, boop. No, exactly. It doesn't give what number of clip. No, he just, do your thing, Levi.
Yeah, for sure. No, I get it, though. I get it, from Brennan's standpoint. I had my same childhood barber pretty much my whole life up until I moved out here. And then it was a struggle when I first moved out here, especially, as a black man, you got different kind of expectations. I need my taper to be how I need it to be. You know what I'm saying? And so I had to kind of, maneuver a little bit. And I was way out in Forest Grove at Pacific University. And it was tough in the beginning. Found somebody that I rocked with in Hillsboro, and that was kind of like my barber through college. And then now I've kind of got my adult barber who's in the garage, hopefully legally.
I do appreciate that, Justin, when
he's licensed and bonded. Probably.
I will say this: I appreciate a barber who, like, in this case, like, Justin, you can see this too. I've experimented with some different hairstyles the last few years, and she has been all in on me chasing the mullet, the long hair, the this, the that. So I also appreciate, like, I've changed it up like 3-4 times, and she's kept a pretty good attitude about it too.
Yeah, the only thing I've ever done is I went from it was longer to short. I go, yeah, let's go short.
Yeah.
Now, when I was in college, when I was playing baseball in junior college, we had a dude, shout out Jared Kiles, like he could cut hair.
Yeah.
And like he did not. All right, first off, if you are under 21, do not drink alcohol. You shouldn't be doing it.
That's right.
Don't do it. That being said, let's just say Jared, the kid who cut everybody's hair, he didn't have to pay for beers at the party. It's like, we'll just take care of you. We got you taken care of.
For sure.
And just tighten me up. So,
right.
And I'm assuming, do you ever have, like, when you played JUCO, do you have guys, like, on your team that you trusted, or you were like, nah?
Nah, when I played JUCO, I was still close enough to home, and I kept my same childhood barber. You know what I mean? So I just planned around that. But nah, I wasn't getting cut by the homie on the team because that's all
Jared
they could
Kiles was
afford
legit
at the time as some struggling
he could dial
JUCO
you up.
kids. Yeah, no, I get it. I've seen it. But
he had a whole system too.
yeah, I was able to stick to my barber from basically birth.
Brendan, you ever let a friend cut your hair? I guarantee you that's a no. I guarantee you a no. You don't even have to say it.
So
I guarantee it's a no.
It was only one time, and
one time.
To this day, I'm still peeved about it. Family friend. It was
still mad about it.
Ooh, that was bad.
No, so family friend. It was like 6 months into COVID. It's when she was going to cosmetology school.
Oh yeah.
Did she pass?
No, she's in a completely different career now.
Yeah, no.
So, yeah.
Did you break her? Did you?
No, it just, like, I remember just being like, I sat out there for like 20 minutes, and I don't think you did anything.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Again, solid family friend, but I remember telling the household at the time, I'm like, she's not cutting my hair again.
That's not. I don't know if that career is for her.
So yeah, but no, I would never let Justin. If I had let friends cut my hair, I would have ended up with like a Mark Davis cut in college, man. So, like, all that kind of joking stuff. Like, they say don't fall asleep in a fraternity, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true,
right?
too.
You wake up with a Mark Davis cut, man.
You see what a haircut compliment does on Rip City Mornings?
Starts a whole
thing. I love it, man.
You know better than to throw a nugget. By the way, I've been informed we may have been alienating our bald audience out there. So we're going to shift gears.
Hey, you know what?
We're gonna
That's
shift.
the look.
We're going to shift gears. We're going to talk some hoops coming up. Blazers start their preseason off to Friday night, excuse me. But opening night coming up on the 23rd against the Golden State Warriors. Tickets are on sale now. Visit trailblazers.com/tickets and plan your trip to Rip City to experience the opening night tip-off of the 2024/25 Trailblazer basketball season. That's right, hoops is back in Rip City the 23rd as the Blazers take on the Golden State Warriors. More on the Blazers, the NBA, hoops right around the corner with our good friend Devon Pouncey next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, in just a couple of days, the Blazers start off their preseason up in Seattle. They'll be taking on the L.A. Clippers. And then, as I just mentioned last segment, the 23rd of October, they'll be facing the Golden State Warriors, and their season will get underway. Joining us now, our good friend from the Wake Up and Win podcast, friend of the program, Devon Pouncey, who joins us each and every Tuesday live in studio. And Pounce, I was mentioning right before you walked in the studio and we got distracted on haircuts.
Yeah.
I'll attempt to be somewhat more dialed in. I think from a Blazer standpoint, we're going to see a lot of what we saw last year in terms of dealing with injuries because Shaedon's injured already. And while I'm not saying these injuries are made up, far from it, I'm saying the Blazers have actually the benefit of being super cautious with injuries all year long. Like if you see 4 to 6 weeks, you can bet on probably 6, more like 7 when it comes, because when you look at the way heading into this season, the West is so unbelievably loaded.
How about the East now?
And then the East, and I do want to dive into that too.
Yeah.
But you look at the way the West is, right? The Blazers are going to have the benefit of being able to a hamstring. Don't worry about it. Take a couple extra weeks. We don't need to push you through it because they're still in rebuild mode. Like they're still in. It's like it's going to be in year 4 of rebuild mode. But I guess the biggest question I wanted, if you are still in kind of rebuild mode, and I asked Aaron Fentress this last week, and I'm curious because as someone who played college basketball, can you still develop? Can you still develop as a player when you're not winning very many games?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that can happen. Because I know, Joe Cronin was talking about it at Media Day of, there is kind of a balance, right? Of you want to develop your players, but there's also clearly an objective of the last couple of seasons to get a high draft pick. And when you're rebuilding, you're just going to take losses. That's part of the life of a rebuild, right? Mm-hmm. I talked about this with Blazer fans all last year. It's like rebuilding in the NBA to me, it's like starting a diet.
Okay.
The day before, you're real excited.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get salads and I'm gonna get some chicken and I'm gonna hit the treadmill. And then you get a weekend, you're like, this is not as fun as I thought. and then hopefully on the other end, it all works out and pays off.
Right.
And right now, we are in the middle of we're eating a lot of broccoli as Blazer fans. Eating some broccoli.
Yeah, but
seeing more of a light at the end of the tunnel. But we're going to be eating broccoli this year.
Yeah, but I still think you could take strides in the right direction. I think one thing that is often talked about is finding the wins that you won't see on the win-loss column.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's where I think, obviously, from a development standpoint, a rep standpoint, an experience standpoint, a chemistry standpoint, even an individual standpoint. I mean, personally, I play for good teams, I play for bad teams, but I've been able to see my individual progress, based on experience. We talked about earlier, having played JUCO ball. That was a transition itself, even though, my JUCO team was pretty good, so I'm not saying it from that standpoint, but I think just solely off the experience of first year coming out of high school, even in the JUCO ball, it was like, all right, guys are a little bigger. Guys are a little stronger. It's a little more physical at this level. Pace is a little bit different from what I was accustomed to in high school. You kind of take that first year, you adjust. Then that second year, all right, I got this thing now. I'm an all-conference player. Same thing happened when I went to Pacific and played 4-year ball. All right, playing for a new coach, a new system, a new way to go about things from a basketball standpoint. We weren't the greatest team, but my first year adjusted a little bit. My second year, which was my senior year, my fourth and final year, all conference again. So I think, regardless of whether you're winning and losing games from a record standpoint, I think for individual players, absolutely, the more experience you gain, the more you understand the level that you're playing at and the program that you're playing within and what it is that, their objective is, you can 100% see strides of progress individually taking that approach.
Yep.
And, Devon, I just kind of had a question for you with that. Talking like Shaedon Sharpe, right? So, obviously, now he's going to be out, like Justin said, 4 to 6 weeks, probably longer than that. He's entering year 3 of that rookie scale deal, and we still don't know enough about him. Like, as far as the availability and everything else, like, is this in your mind? Like, is this a possibility that he gets another year, like, behind the 8 ball, like he basically has the first couple years? And then the other question is, like, eventually, I know Blazer fans don't want to talk about this, you're eventually going to have to pay Shaedon Sharpe. Like, that's coming sooner than later.
Yeah, I think from a standpoint of, like, timing wise, it's not as big of a deal as maybe some folks make it out to be. First of all, yes, it's a big deal because I'm sure he wants to be out there playing. He doesn't want to be injured. And when you're coming off of a season that was a pretty injury-riddled season, and then you come into a new season, you have these big high hopes and expectations for him as a player, for the team as a whole, of just being able to take steps in the right direction. It could be discouraging, but at the same time, you're still, season doesn't start for 2.5 more weeks. Okay, you might miss, the first few weeks of the season, but you still have a very large sample size of basketball left based on what his recovery timetable is and the amount of games he'll still be able to play after recovering. So I wouldn't go as far as worrying in that standpoint. I think it just kind of more so can feel like a cloud, over the team because, oh, man, coming out of last season, it was a lot of injuries throughout the season, and then coming into this season, you already got a couple of guys who you expect to be, more so maybe rotation players, especially, in Shaedon's case. And here we go again. Before the season has even started, we've already got guys who won't be available maybe for like opening night. So, again, I think from a timetable standpoint, I wouldn't panic because you still have a huge sample size of basketball left from, his post-recovery, when he's healed up and available to be able to go back out there and play.
Our good friend Devon Pouncey joining us here live in studio from the Wake Up and Win podcast. He's also the Rip City Mornings basketball analyst. So let me throw this out. I want to talk about Scoot a little bit because I remember – before the Blazers even drafted him, and I remember watching him on ESPN. It was during the Combine, and I'm like, that's the most confident kid I've ever seen.
Yeah,
like savvy, media ready. Like that's the most confident I've ever seen of a 19-year-old. And I think one of the questions was talking about what if you get drafted to the Blazers, because the Blazers did have number 3 pick, and what about Dame and all that kind of stuff. And I'm betting that up until the first NBA game he played, there was one game, which is when he played against Wemby in the G League. Other than that game, he's probably been the best player on the court in every game he's ever played in.
I don't know about that. In the G League? I mean,
he only played 16 games in the G League. Was there anybody better than Scoot Henderson in the G League?
Well, I mean, maybe more in the moment, like NBA ready. Of course, not like a higher potential, but obviously, like looking at like Ignite, like there's guys that you can see like, oh yeah, they have a higher ceiling based on their age, their ability, things like that. But there are other guys that have played. You got NBA veterans, and you got guys that are just older and just more mature and maybe more NBA ready today, but their ceiling is not nearly as high as a young player.
Let me rephrase it. If you were Scoot Henderson,
and they lost a lot of games.
They did lose some games. Well, so much so that Ignite doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly.
Turns out going to college and getting paid way more fun than going to Henderson, Nevada.
Well, that helps spark things to go to college and get paid now.
Okay. Maybe from a mentality standpoint, where he went on the floor, he's like probably felt, I'm the best player on this floor.
Yeah.
From his time in high school, his 2 years in the G League, and maybe even when he played Wemby, because he went toe-to-toe with Wemby.
Yeah.
And probably felt like but there had to be a moment last year where even him, as confident as he is, goes, yeah, I'm not the best player here. And that's where I'm saying, I'm fascinated heading into year 2 with Scoot. Does he get that moxie and that confidence back? Because you saw it last year, and part of it was dealing with injuries. Part of it was just dealing with being a rookie, where he kind of lost that little spark, that little bit of confidence that I'm sure he probably had on a basketball court his entire life. To where it's like, yeah, now I'm in the men's league, right? Now I'm going up against the greatest in the world, night in and night out. I might not be the 5th best player on this court right now. And I'm curious to see if he kind of gets that back. He did towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I was about to
He
say.
did towards the end,
Yeah.
which was good to see. And now heading into year 2, if you can see, because that was, other than his basketball ability, the thing that I kind of liked the most. I'm like, this kid he's got moxie. He's got charisma. He's coming in with a lot of confidence.
For sure. No, and I think, again, like you said, you can see the progress from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, but also that year over year. Again, these are like wins that don't show up in the standings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that experience, that's where that mattered, to be able to know, feel, and see that progress from the beginning of the year where, all right, this is a new level for me, and I definitely got some adjusting to do.
Yeah.
To the end of the year, it's like, okay, I get it now. I understand the pace. I understand the flow. I understand how to play within myself, but also be able to have that aligned to, being able to produce for my team and try to go out and win. And so I think from a year-over-year standpoint, yes, you expect to come in now with just a much better idea of A, what the team wants to do, B, what your coach wants to do, and see how you fit into all of that, especially when you have to go up and play against opposing teams with the best players in the world, as you mentioned. And so I think just naturally that's just the way it goes kind of year over year for most people. Of course, sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but in his case, I could see a world coming into this season far more confident after what he was able to endure last season, for sure.
All right. We weren't able to talk to you last week, and there was a fairly significant move that happened in the NBA a handful of days before that, and that's Karl-Anthony Towns is now a New York Knick.
Yeah, that was big.
Julius Randle and DiVincenzo, they head to Minnesota. I initially
had to bring up the Nova boys.
I had to break it up, but
So
I initially saw this trade, and my first thought was, I think Minnesota fleeced him. To be perfectly honest,
interesting.
I think Minnesota fleeced him. Now, maybe that's because I don't have an awful lot of faith in Karl-Anthony Towns.
Okay.
Obviously, from where he was to then when Anthony Edwards came and took over, and he kind of became more of a number 2 option, even though he's had his moments. But I look at now Minnesota adding Shooter and DiVincenzo.
Yeah.
Dog in Julius Randle.
Yeah.
Adding some toughness.
Yep.
That I think you didn't quite have with Karl-Anthony Towns. I thought Minnesota won this one big.
I disagree. I
Am I
thought
being a
it was,
hater? Am I being a Karl-Anthony Towns hater?
I just think it was a pretty fair trade.
Okay.
And the reason why I think so is, when you look at New York, starting with New York, first of all, obviously they didn't have Randle because he was injured.
Yeah.
Especially,
that's
in
a
that
huge
postseason.
factor here, yes.
And during that run, but also at that point, now a decision has to be made. Jalen Brunson arrived.
Mm-hmm.
Julius Randle, prior to Jalen Brunson arriving, that was more so Julius Randle's team. He was the number 1 option.
Yeah.
Now you look at, okay, if we're going to build, do we build around Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle? I wouldn't say that's the most complementary tandem just based on, the way both of them play. I think they both kind of need the ball in their hands a lot more to pose a threat, if you will. Where somebody like a Karl-Anthony Towns, he can stretch the floor. He's such a good shooter as a big that even if he doesn't have the ball in his hands and he's way out there somewhere, you still got to stay connected to him because open looks for him are good money for the most part. Like he's like a 40% three-point shooter, which is very impressive for a big. Won the contest, exactly. So I think just from a fit standpoint, New York decided, hey, we're now probably going to go the Brunson direction. I think Randle kind of took us as far as he could take us, sort of starting us, getting us back to a playoff team now. With Brunson, we're able to go on more deep playoff runs. Randle's been dealing with some injuries. So I think Cat is more of a fit for Jalen Brunson in particular. So I thought that was good. And then also you got Bridges over there now too. So considering Bridges, you just got more offense, and you still got some of those tough guys. Brunson's a bulldog. Josh Hart is still a tough guy. So you still can keep that tough dynamic. And the way Thibodeau coaches, you kind of got to be tough.
But didn't the Thibodeau Karl-Anthony Towns thing didn't quite work in Minnesota? Now, again, that was with him as a number 1 option as opposed to maybe where this Knicks team has got other guys that can maybe fill that role. But it's just –
I saw a lot of maturity from Karl-Anthony Towns having to play side by side with Anthony Edwards, I would say, which is why I think they went so far.
Interesting things in the league is you do see guys come in, and I'm guilty of it as much as anybody, where you get guys that come in and they're like, you know what? Karl-Anthony Towns was 20 when he got drafted, right? He's a 20-year-old kid, and you're a number one pick, and all of a sudden now a franchise that's never won a championship is like, you're going to do it. And then it didn't handle it all that well at the beginning, and you get labeled. And I'm guilty of it. Like, you label, and then you're like, oh, no, he actually grew up.
Yeah, he grew up.
Grew up.
I think we watched him grow up.
Figured some things out. I don't know. I just
think you still need a little more offensive firepower if you're New York. Like, being a tough team and having the Nova boys and, you know, playing physical and running guys 45 minutes a game out there and all the things that was impressive, you're still going to get, you know, you still need guys that can just make things a little bit easier for you, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I think Bridges can help them with that, and I think Karl-Anthony Towns can help them with that. Where now, in the case of Minnesota, I thought they got something good out the deal. You still get an all-star caliber big in Randall, an all-star big in Randall. And then I do think that they lacked depth a little bit in the guard area. You know, obviously, you know, you had Conley there, but, you know, shooting the ball, they had guys, but I think DiVincenzo brings a different element because he's a really good shooter as a guard. Gives them more depth, you know, from like more of a combo standpoint, because that's kind of what he is essentially. He shoots it well, but he's not the biggest, so sometimes he could fall into that point guard role. And I think, you know, they were good in the front court. Had Cat, had Rudy Gobert, had Naz Reid coming off the bench. They just needed more depth in that backcourt. I think DiVincenzo helps with that.
One more thing before we wrap up, and I have a bad habit, Pounce, and that is I can see things. I can see things coming down the pike, and I think I maybe go too negative sometimes in anticipating certain things. I'm already tired of this Bronny stuff. I'm already tired of it. I'm a hating hater. I'm a hating hater. It's like, the Bronny and LeBron have made history. Like it.
That's fire.
It's a Make-A-Wish thing.
That's fire.
Like, let's let LeBron just let his kid play. Like this, it's like a little league dad and his son is pitching. Hey, look, his dad's the coach and he's pitching. That's weird. No,
it's different.
And it's like
a
that
coach
on
and
an
a player
NBA level.
is different than the two father and son being teammates. Come on now, we saw it with the Griffies in baseball. That was fire. That was pretty cool. I'm sure
it was incredibly cool because Ken Griffey Jr. was the number one player in high school.
I get that.
And Bronny scored 4 points a game for USC.
I get that. But just being able to get it done is still that's fire to me. I'm giving Bron all credit for even being able to, especially if some of the rumors are true, that other teams were actually willing to go and get Bronny, and they decided to hold out of respect for LeBron. If that is indeed true,
you think that's true?
There's no way that's true.
Come on.
You don't believe that that's true.
I'm with Josh on this one. I am.
There's no way you believe that that's true.
Then that's pretty fire.
There's an NBA team in this league that thought, man, we might have a solid bench player that we can snake in the second round. Nah, out of respect.
I'm telling you,
for LeBron.
Some. If that's true, Devon, then some Brendan in some closet sat there and found some analytical stat. And go, well, Bronny could develop into a star under these circumstances.
He might.
I think it's fire. I'm rolling with it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it for their family. I love it for LeBron. I love it for the G League. I love it for everything.
I mean, I guess, look, you know what?
I love it for this radio session.
Right. I've never been in a position where I could wield the power that LeBron gets to wield, and maybe I'm just jealous. Maybe I'm just envious.
I'm rocking with it. I think it's fire.
But save me on the history-making day. It's like he brought his own kid with him.
Yeah,
there's probably a handful of players who they have kids they could bring with and make history. The Lakers just went along with it.
I do think the funniest part was that he was at the whole other end of the court and kind of like ran over to where, because the other team was inbounding the ball at the opposite baseline. And it was his man that he was guarding but he kind of ran over to where Bronny was to kind of like act like he was double teaming that point guard to deny him the basketball, but really they just wanted to get that shot.
They want the photo up because they live in an Instagram world and we're all just pawns in their little social media game. See, I'm already You love it. You love it.
I love it. Every bit of it.
All right. You know what I love? Wrapping up the big show with our special Ebony and Ivory version of the RCM mailbag next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, it's time to wrap up the show. Our good friend Devon Pouncey, who is with us each and every Tuesday live in studio, is joining us for the final segment. And for those that are maybe new to the program, first off, hey, thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. If you like what you hear, tell a friend. And if you are a returning customer, hey, we appreciate it. Thanks for coming along on this ride. Also, if you want to win $1,000, how about this? $1,000 cash for the sixth man from Rip City Radio. The sixth man, that's you. Listen for the keywords each and every weekday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on the 15s for your chance to win $1,000 13 times a day. All the details are at ripcityradio.com. So, each and every day we wrap up the show with the RCM mailbag. We have a special fun little twist, a cultural twist.
That's right.
If you will, as Devon and I both come from different cultures, and which makes us curious about the other, and we have questions about that curiosity, and we trust and love each other enough to where there's no judgment here. This is all educational, so we can all learn and appreciate. For that, we call it Ebony and Ivory. All right, real quick, because you weren't here last week. First off, everyone's fine. Everybody walked away. Was in a bit of a car wreck.
Oh, really?
A week and a half ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Kelly and I on our way to the pumpkin patch.
Okay.
And you know my lovely wife, so you probably are not surprised that when she decorates, she goes all out.
She goes all out, for sure.
So, Pounce, we went out and we bought 10 pumpkins.
Okay.
10 pumpkins.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of
pretty
pumpkins.
good about a pumpkin.
And then we were hit by another car. Not our fault, but
Rand or T-Bone or
this car in front. This
Okay.
car in front of me rear-ended someone in front of them.
Ah.
I stopped. They panicked, hit reverse.
Oh, man.
Backed up full speed reverse into me.
Oh, my gosh.
So
didn't realize anybody was behind them. They were panicked off the initial. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our car not drivable. And obviously this is going to insurance. And we learned through this whole process, they were like, yeah, if you turn the car over to insurance, you might not ever see it again. Everything that you need out of the car, you need to take right now.
Right.
We got 10 pumpkins in the back, Pounce. We're sitting on Pacific Highway 99.
Yeah.
Unloading pumpkins like we were Charlie Brown at the pumpkin patch. So that